Welcome and welcome back to Life of the Muse. I'm the Muse. This is my life. And I'm just here to remind you that sometimes keeping it real can go wrong. So if you're a 90s baby, you probably grew up on the Chapelle Show like I did. And I know a lot of people have their opinions. Oh, he's not funny, or he said this and it was controversial, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, when I was younger, my brother, he used to, we probably was too young to watch it, but he used to play the Chapelle Show for us. And I will never forget this segment, When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong.
Watching When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong.
And that's a real thing, because a lot of times, genuine people and authentic people, they're going to keep it real with you. They're going to tell you what they feel like you need to hear. And sometimes that can go very, very wrong.
Because I keeps it real like that.
I definitely had an experience like that, 2 years ago? And I just felt the need to share it with you. I don't think I was wrong, and I don't regret what I did or said, but it was very much not received. I'm not even gonna say it wasn't received in the right way. It wasn't received at all. Anyway, so a couple years ago, I was working at this sushi restaurant, and it was family owned, right? It was owned by a husband and wife couple, and this was their business that they had built from the ground up. The food was good, but this couple was the most shady leadership I've ever experienced in my life. I will be 32 in 3 months. I've been working since I was 16. I have never worked for shadier people, and I'm not exaggerating. A few examples of how they were shady. First of all, let's give the husband and wife a name. We're going to call him Ted, and we're going to call her Rachel. Ted and Rachel, husband and wife, okay? And they own this business together. Ted is a chef and Rachel is a manager, okay? And this is their business. So one day we get a health inspection. It's a sushi restaurant. The health inspector gave us an 86. Now, I live here in North Carolina. I don't know how it works in other states. I have traveled before and found out that it's not a law for them to display their sanitation score. But here in North Carolina, you have to have your sanitation score displayed so all the guests can see it, so anybody can see it. You have to have it on display. When we received an 86, Rachel literally was walking around, take it down, take it down, take it down. And a lot of us had served at other restaurants. A lot of us just knew North Carolina law. We're like, you can't take that down. It has to be up. Take it down. She was so pissed off at the score that she insisted that we take it down and hide it and put it out of view. That is against the law. So not only is this kitchen nasty as hell, you turn around and break the law because you don't want, again, it was a very popular sushi restaurant. You don't want your guests to see how nasty this kitchen is. You and Ted are the owners. You and Ted have ServSafe certifications posted throughout this restaurant with y'all's names on it. If you're ServSafe certified, it really doesn't even make sense for your restaurant to have obtained a score that low. That shit was disgusting. And then it's sushi, so it's not like hot dogs and hamburgers. You can't have a sanitation score that low when you're serving raw fish. That's just not okay. Point blank, period. You will kill somebody. Crooked, did not care about the rules. Another thing, multiple people were very confused and concerned about what they were being paid. So a lot of servers, most servers in North Carolina make a wage of $2.13. After taxes are pulled from your check, or after everything's calculated up, you really don't even see that. So as a server, every dollar that you take home is a dollar that you've earned. Now, also in most of these restaurants, there's a tip out that you have to pay. I know we have this controversy. I don't believe in this tipping system, blah, blah, blah. You might not believe in it. We don't necessarily believe in it either, but it's a job that we have to work like you have to work your job, okay? So I seen a lady on Facebook like, oh, I stopped tipping as a silent protest. So you're punishing your server for something that they have no control over? When you work in a restaurant, most likely, again, there's a tip out. So There's a tip out to the bartender. There's a tip out to the hostess because the restaurant doesn't actually want to pay anybody, so they make the servers pay everybody else. It's a really jacked up system, right? But when you begin a job at a restaurant, because there is a tip out, most of the time they sit you down and tell you, this is how much money you'll be paying here, this is how much money you'll be paying there. And it's often a percentage. Most of the time with bartenders, it's a percentage of your alcohol sales, and then for everything else that you tip out to the restaurant, it's a percentage of your total sales, okay? These people would discuss in your like hiring process and in your onboarding process, they will let you know, like, yeah, you're going to pay a tip out and it'll probably be such and such. They never gave us a specific percentage nor a specific dollar amount of how much was being paid out. Also, they just paid us a check at the end of every week. So I enjoyed my weekly pay, but there was never an itemized breakdown of these are the tips that you earned. This is how much you paid out. This is da-da-da-da. They literally just gave you a check and we just took the check and accepted it. Not only did they just give you a check, they made you sign a sheet of paper that said, I agree to this amount of money and I can't dispute it. They did that to cover themselves legally because they knew if any of us actually sat down and did the math that we would find out, A, that we were paying an exorbitant amount. Sorry, I wanted to make sure I said the word right. They didn't want us to know that we were paying an exorbitant amount in tip out. And they also didn't want us to start to wonder, well, if this much is coming out of my earnings every week, where exactly is it going? I'm not going to lie. When I was younger, I had a bad habit of meeting a boo at every workplace, right? And this place was no different. You can keep your judgment to yourself because I'm grown. I decided that, I don't discriminate and, let's see what it's like. So I ended up somehow, also, I do completely understand that this was wrong. It's against every rule in every restaurant. Like, you do not fraternize with members of management. I somehow ended up talking to the GM of the restaurant, who was not Ted or Rachel, of course. They had hired a man to be the executive sushi chef, and I ended up calling myself being his boo for a couple months. That was interesting. I'm not going into detail about it out of respect for myself and him. But, of course, okay, people pillow talk, right? So when me and him would hang out after work, get a beer together, have some sake together, he would start to kind of confide in me about like, oh, this is how much I get paid. And I'm like, how and why do you get paid so little when we're literally balls to the wall busy all the time? He would provide omakase style dinners to higher paying guests. He would come up with the menu. He would literally, like, he was the GM and they were paying him like shit. And I was very confused by that. Then they would have, like every other sushi bar, they would have a tip jar. And people, because they really, really enjoyed this restaurant, they would be dropping blue bills in there. I will never forget, like, people used to buy expensive bottles of sake for the whole staff after work. Like, it was pretty lit. But he began to confide in me about his earnings. And I was very confused about that. Like, what do you mean? So there was one day that someone, I think they had tipped the sushi bar like $500 because it was 5 guys back there. And like, they left a huge tip. Do you know this man messed around one day? And I was like, oh, look, like y'all got, and he was just like, I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, I don't get any of that. Who don't? Who don't? Who don't? You're the sushi chef. And somebody left all of y'all $100 a piece. What do you mean you don't get to take that home? It was like, yeah, Ted takes our tips. He said, yeah, Ted takes our tips. He said, I know better than to ask about it. He said last time he asked about it, Ted was like, well, I have to buy receipt paper and markers and I have to buy this and I have to buy that. Yeah, that's called a business expense. And you write that into the price of your food, okay? Whatever, like, I guess because I'm a business major, like, this shit just hits my mind differently. But, okay, let's say you operate a business, right? Let's say you do hair and you charge $50 for a blowout. If you turn around and you're the type of cosmetologist like, oh, she didn't tip me, she didn't tip me, she didn't tip me, I understand that customer service providers enjoy gratuity, but the thing about it is you set the price of $50. So within that $50, you're supposed to account for your time, your labor, supplies being used. And if you're supposed to write in a profit for yourself, of course. So you set the price that allows you to cover your business expenses as well as compensate yourself as well as make a little bit of profit. So for Ted to turn around and be like, oh, y'all don't get y'all tips because I need it for business supplies. Dude, you got me bent. What do you mean? If these customers knew that these men were not taking these tips home, they wouldn't be leaving them. I promise. I promise. We had a manager, like, I used to eat at another sushi restaurant and I loved it, right? And I had gotten tight with the manager or whatever. So one day that manager came in and he's like, oh, you work here now? I'm like, yeah, I do. And he was eating our food. He hated it. He hated it. I went to the managers. I'm like, hey, they didn't like their food. The managers went to the table and tried to, have the conversation of what can we do better, receive his feedback or whatever. But they were the type, they refused to take anything off the bill. You can go to their reviews right now, and I'm not going to tell you what the place, but if you go to their reviews, I promise you it's a lot of complaints. We hated our food, and we still had to pay full price for everything. They do not try to, oh, let's get you a free dessert to make up for that. Oh, let's take that off the bill like a restaurant should, because sometimes in business, you just take L's. They didn't believe in taking L's. We don't care if you didn't like the food. We don't care if it was too salty. We don't care if so-and-so was mushy. You're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it. And like I said, this person specifically that complained this time, they were a manager of another restaurant and they know how business works. So they were just really shocked and appalled that that was the business practice of my job. When they're leaving, I'm very apologetic. I'm like, I'm sorry. I wish I could have did more. I'm so sorry. And they were like, oh, you're fine, Kim. Don't worry. Like, we're going to take care of you with this tip. But I bet you we will not be back. We will not be back. Rachel overheard that shit. She so called herself pulling me into the office, blah, 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 like yelling at me because I was an acquaintance of this person that had complaints. I was like, you don't get to fuss at me because they didn't like their food. And it's not my fault that they're not coming back. They did not have any service complaints. They had food complaints. And you all still forced them to pay for the food that they did not like. When I tell you this couple was crooked. I even had a front of the house manager. After a while, they would kind of start telling me like, just pay a lot of attention to your checks. Just pay a lot of attention to your checks. It got to the point where every server, like, because we would go out for like beer after work or whatever, every server was confused about what they were being paid and why the tip out was so high. And the crazy part about that, you should be able to go to any manager at any workplace or any HR department at any workplace and say, can you break down my income for me? It is your income that you clock in and earn. They owe that to you. You're entitled to the information of your income. You're entitled to the specifics of your income. If you would have took your butt to Ted or Rachel, hey, how much are we actually paying tip out? They would cuss you out on the spot. They would yell at you. They would yell at you. That's how you know that they were like, you already taking tips from the sushi chefs. You taking tips from us. This food ain't cheap. Like, what the hell? And they were always on vacation. They always had, I guess in Asian families, they kind of like live all together, multiple generations in one house. And I guess that's to maintain the financial strength and income of the family. Cool, that makes sense and everything. But they would have that entire family, the grandmas, the aunts, the children running around like this ain't a business that we have to run. They would have everybody come in there and eat family style, and they didn't pay shit. They didn't even pay gratuity, I don't believe. They didn't pay shit. You just had to serve them because that's the family. And they did it like once or twice a week. Y'all can afford for that type of shit to take place, but y'all are in everybody's tips. That doesn't make sense. They were just super, again, shady and super unprofessional. That's not how business is supposed to go. So fast forward, I had been working there a while and I had just been noticing things that I really didn't like. Again, I have my bachelor's degree in business management. That broke down a lot of numbers. That broke down a lot of the basic ins and outs of how to keep a business operating. And for that reason, like, it's really hard for me to enjoy my workplaces, because the longer I stay there, the more I see y'all are not going by the book. Y'all are making up shit, and y'all are just doing what you want to do. And I don't like that. I need consistency. I need the rules to be followed by everybody in here. How do you expect me to follow the rules if you're not? I'm not a do as I say and not as I do. I'm not that type of girl. You want me to do it, you can do it too. Because when I'm in positions of management, I would never delegate a task that you have not seen me do myself. If I can't get down there and roll my sleeves up, how do I expect to delegate for Sally and Susie to go do it? That's just not how it works. So who do you think you are? That's not management. I got to a point where I was very, very dissatisfied with how things were working. And I also got to a point where I would notice my coworkers were not working as hard as me. And you know, nobody ever knew the breakdown of the pay. So we're kind of taking home the same thing financially, but they don't work half as hard as me. In restaurants, if you don't have a food runner, they want for the entire team to participate in running each other's food. So not only your food should you prioritize, but if it's food in the window and it's ready to go, you take it to the table. I'm running food while people are on their cell phones. I'm running food while young ladies are flirting with the customers. Why am I prioritizing your tables when you're not? It just got to a point where the teamwork was not being evenly distributed. The favoritism was getting crazy. And then it got to a point, no, it had always been at this point. If we would go out for drinks at the end of a shift, the very next day, Ted would literally be like, so who all was there? So how much did each person spend? What? Can you imagine your boss asking you the details of your off-the-clock life? Yo, Ted, are you stupid? Are you stupid?
Are you dumb?
It got to, like, we all were just kind of talking amongst ourselves every single time we would go out, and we were just, we were just like, yo, this ain't right. This ain't right. This ain't working. So we all had a bunch of common grievances. The pay was the biggest thing. And then prying in our personal lives and business was huge too. But we all had a bunch of common grievances. Now, again, I got to a point where I was just fed up with a lot of shit, including my coworkers and how they would not work as hard because they, like every restaurant, you have your, like, let's say your strong 5. They're going above and beyond. They're doing everything. They're dependable. You know, you can ask them for whatever and they'll do it. But that breeds a lazy 10 or 15 because they already know the strong 5 are going to take care of it. I don't have to work as hard. I don't like shit like that. I'm also the type of person, I'm going to hold you accountable where I can because I'm interested in your personal growth. I'm interested in you not stepping on my toes. And I'm not going to bite my tongue. That's fake to me. If I have disdain for something, I'm going to speak up about it because why would I be walking around biting my tongue, pretending like everything's okay? I'm not a pretender. I don't have the energy to pretend. They talk about, oh, it takes this many muscles to frown versus this many muscles to smile. How many muscles does it take for you to lie and pretend? No, not doing it. Not doing it. Not doing it. I find that difficult and I'm not doing it. So another very important detail that I'm going to sprinkle in here and then I'll get to the point. At the time, I did not have a vehicle. This is one of the times I was in between cars, and there was a young lady. She was so sweet. She was like, you could just ride with me. She did not mind me riding with her. I used to try to offer her gas money. She wouldn't take it. She was the type person I had to sneak it in her cup holder and hurry up and jump out the car and then text her like, haha, it's $20 in there. Like, she did not want to be compensated for the rides. And she was just like, we're friends. I don't mind. And I used to always be, okay, when I get my car, I'm going to come pick you up sometimes. Like, just to make it even. She was married and she told me, like, we're not hurting for money. We're comfortable. I really don't mind, like, picking you up. She's like, if I have the means, I can do it. I don't need your money. Like, why take it? I really appreciated her. But like I said, I used to sneak her money. When we would go out for drinks, if she joined, I would try to get her a round or two. And I told her, you know, when I get my car, I'm going to come pick you up and I'm going to take you home. So I was able to do that when I got my car. Tell me why. Okay, so that young lady that I just mentioned, she had received a diagnosis very early on in her life where she had some mental issues. Now, that's not me trying to be funny or judgmental, because honestly, I think all of us have mental issues and we just haven't been diagnosed. But she was brave enough to be open about it. She was brave enough to be honest about the fact that she was medicated for it. And she was also brave enough to kind of let us know, these are the ways that it affects me. These are the ways it makes me think. So she just wanted us to be aware, so we knew how to, not how to handle her, but for lack of a better way to put it, she just wanted us to be aware that she had that going on. You know, don't take such and such personally. Look out for me if we go out drinking. Like, you know, we just needed to know. Well, we didn't need to know, but she wanted us to know that so that we could look out for her. So with that being said, she was very easily manipulated. Very easily manipulated. I could tell her that the sky was purple. And even though she's standing outside, she might be thinking like, okay, well, I'm seeing it differently because of my issue. So maybe it actually is purple. Like, she was just very easily manipulated. It is what it is. Now, fast forward, there was a whole bunch of stuff happening, and I just was not effing with it. Oh, and one of the bigger things that happened is me and the sushi chef have fell out. So now it's a hostile work environment for the both of us. We both still work here. You're my manager. And we're in this toxic space where we're not speaking to each other. We're giving each other the cold shoulder. We keep catching each other, staring at each other. It was a hot mess, but there was a lot of stuff, like I had already mentioned, like this was a very shady business. It was just a lot of shit I didn't like. Like the way they would get people's cars towed and stuff, man. Shady. Okay, fast forward. One night we go get drinks after work, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm doing dry January right now, but I could put them back. I could drink a grown man under the table, and I'm not proud of that. This is just me being open. A lot of that had to do with my grief. If you've been on this channel for a while, you know that both of my parents are deceased. Both of the grandparents that raised me are deceased. My oldest brother is deceased. And to be honest with you, as a child, I never thought I would be an alcoholic, because I'm like, I had other alcoholics in my family. I didn't like how they moved. I didn't like how they acted. I didn't like how they smell or what I watched it do to their teeth or their skin. I never thought that I would use alcohol as my cope, but here I was. And I say this all the time, whatever I've judged, I've been through. So keep that in mind. Don't be judgmental, because God got a funny way. Yeah, so I was participating heavily in alcoholism, and I didn't have a problem with that. But you know how the more liquid courage you got, first of all, I don't need the liquid, okay? Because I'm gonna tell you how I feel regardless. But when you add alcohol into the mix, the issue with that, I'm already going to tell you how I feel sober, but when you put alcohol in it, that means I don't give a damn about the delivery. That means I don't care if I'm being rude or not. That I don't care if I offend you. Now, if I'm sober, I'm going to sit and plan my words. I will plan a whole conversation for 2 or 3 days. I'll plan a whole conversation for a week. If you're somebody I love and care about, and I have something difficult that I need to break down to you, I'll write that shit in my journal a good 2-3 times before I actually bring it to your attention, because I care my delivery. You get a couple shots in me, I don't care how it come out. And one day after work, we getting drinks or whatever, and I just straight up told him, I was like, I really don't fuck with y'all. I just told him, I was like, I feel like y'all are lazy. I feel like y'all are this, y'all are that. Y'all don't be running fool. Y'all don't work as hard as I do. Then I was like, everybody sit here and talk about how we not being paid fairly, but when y'all in their face, y'all pretty much ass kissing. Like, I went in. I don't even remember the details about what I said, but remember, Ted and Rachel, they were the type, again, to get in our business. Who went out for drinks? How much did y'all spend? So I don't know if they initiated a conversation or if one of the servers just went back and was talking. But due to all that stuff that I said off the clock after work one day, the next time I got to work, I did get to work, and it happened in person. So they did that correctly. But the next time I got to work, they pretty much wrote me a termination letter. I had never been wrote up with these people or anything like that. Again, it's family owned, so they can do what they want to do. They write me a termination letter, and all of my coworkers had signed it, including the friend that I had gotten very close to. All of my coworkers signed it like, oh, this environment is toxic and it's all Kim's fault. We hate working with Kim. She's mean and blah, blah, blah. I also remember one of the specific things I did say, I was like, I don't like it how my business keep getting back to Ted and Rachel. And I was like, the only people that I tell is like 2 or 3 people sitting at this table. And I was like, don't be having my shit in your mouth. I was like, I don't want to be friends with you all, like whatever. I remember saying, I'll still run your food, I'll still help you with your tables and shit. I was like, but we're not friends. I was like, y'all have gotten way too comfortable and way too relaxed with me, and y'all don't even know me like that. I was like, so don't expect me to come and chit chat with you about my personal life anymore, because it's always gonna reach Ted and Rachel. I'm not having that. Ted and Rachel were like, you said that you didn't want to talk to them anymore. You can't terminate me because I don't want to talk to these people on a friend, like, are you stupid? It's one thing to be family owned and you've already, okay, I can make my own rules or whatever, but like, okay. That was the only job I had at the time. So of course you just terminated me. I went to the unemployment office. Now the rules with North Carolina unemployment, if I were to have been completely insubordinate, if I were to have spit in someone's face, if I were to have broken rules on the clock that went directly against the handbook, then unemployment payments would be denied to me because you're the reason for your termination. Another thing to add, I never received a handbook when I first started working there, but all of a sudden when they were ready to terminate me, they had printed out handbooks, gave them to everybody, and literally they had very specific things included in this handbook, like you are not to go out for drinks and talk junk to your coworkers. Like they had stuff in this handbook that was specifically for me. I told y'all, I have a degree in business. You're stupid. You thought I went, okay. Fast forward. Okay. Whenever a person would be terminated from them and they would seek unemployment benefits, Ted and Rachel would come and spread it amongst the staff. They're suing us. And they would try to get the staff all up in arms and trying to be in a defensive space over them. Like, oh, I need you to vouch for us and say that that's not what we're doing. Like they would literally do that to the staff. Remember, I told you my homegirl was super, super impressionable and very easily manipulated, right? Something else to mention. I remember saying to them, I was like, sometimes it makes me uncomfortable that I'm the only black person here. Because they tried that shit. Oh, look, this is my face. You look mean. You need to smile more. And I said, y'all don't say that to my white coworkers, and that's not fair. That's not fair. We're not going to play that angry black girl trope. We're just not. So in the termination letter that they had everybody sign, and I literally only said that to one server, and it was a white male. He was like, she used to make me uncomfortable about race. She used to bring up race all the time. What? The sushi chef that I so-called myself fraternizing with, he was a Japanese man from Indonesia. Clearly, race was not my issue with anything. I had said that y'all were not going to treat me any differently because I was the only black girl. And so now in this packet, oh, I make people uncomfortable because I talk about race. Okay. Again, in the packet, oh, she said she didn't want to be friends with them, blah, blah, blah. Girl, I don't have to be friends with nobody up in here. I said I was going to continue to do my job, and that's all I was going to do. Okay, fast forward, right? I'm on the phone because this is post-pandemic and we still got our masks on and stuff. So it's not like I can do a court appearance for my unemployment benefits. But they pretty much had me on the phone. Rachel was representing the restaurant. And we're pretty much going back and forth with a mediator. And the mediator's trying to decide whether or not I'm entitled to unemployment benefits. Pretty much my whole point, which Rachel has sent all these fucking, amendments or whatever. She had a list of examples of reasons that I shouldn't work there anymore. She even was like, oh, you told the sushi chef to shut up. No, I didn't. Like, no, I didn't. No. She was literally just pulling shit out of her ass. And that wasn't even one of the things that was in the paperwork. Once she realized on the phone that I knew how to speak eloquently and elaborate myself, and once she realized that things were not working in her favor, she just started grabbing straws. You told the sushi chef to shut up. I was like, if I told the chef to shut up, you would have had that in this paperwork. If I had told the chef to shut up, mind you, there would have been a write-up for me to sign. You guys have never written me up a day in your lives, and I brought that out. There's no write-up on file for me that I've ever signed. Oh, well, we had one typed up one day and we just never gave it to you. Then that's on you, and that means that you don't have a paper trail to defend that. I call BS. I call BS. We're not doing that. We're not doing that at all. My homegirl just drove by. But, yeah, so long story short, I'm sitting on the phone having to defend myself and having to elaborate why I'm owed these unemployment benefits. Do you know that they ended up getting the young lady that was my friend at one point? They ended up getting her as a witness to be on the phone to take their side. Now, who better to get than the girl that you know you can easily manipulate? This is the same young lady I used to have to sneak money to. This is the same young lady that when I actually did get my car, I did take her home a couple times. I did pick her up a couple times. This is a young lady who I used to buy drinks for. We were friends. Like, we were friends, I thought. They told the unemployment mediator, like, oh, Kim was just taking so much advantage of her. She was taking, let's call her Tina. She just took so much advantage of Tina. She forced Tina to give her rides every single day. Did I? And it got to the point, Tina got her ass on that phone. She really didn't even have shit to say. It's just not right what you're doing. It's just not right what you're doing. Because, again, Ted and Rachel would tell people, oh, they're suing us. Whole time, no, you just have to pay unemployment when you fire people for bullshit. That's what it is. So Tina's under the impression that I'm suing these people. Whole time I could have for our payment issues. She was like, it's just not right. Because I know how to talk, I was like, Tina, did you or did you not tell me? And I brought that mental shit up because I needed to paint the whole picture. And I was like, did you or did you not tell me that? I said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not trying to be funny. She was like, yes, that's true. I said, so did you or did you not tell me that you were easily impressionable? Did you or did you not tell me that you were easily manipulated? Well, I've been taking my meds and I don't think that has anything to do with it. I'm like, we're asking yes or no questions, babe. Well, yes. Okay. She was like, what you doing? It's just not right. Girl, you don't think you're getting paid correctly either. The only reason you're okay with it, again, because your husband has y'all comfortable and you don't worry about shit like that. That's the only reason you're not tripping about the bread. They talking about I was using that girl. Whole time I used to force her to take my money. I used to, like, okay. It was bad. It was really, really bad. When keeping it real goes wrong, I kept it real with my coworkers and they turned around and got me terminated from my job. Now, the crazy part with that unemployment case, who you think won? Please, y'all gonna fucking pay me. I don't give a damn. My biggest thing to the mediator, I was like, you don't get to terminate me for something I said off the clock, especially if you don't have any proof that it was said. Nobody recorded me. You didn't get it in writing. I said, you just had a whole team of people gang up on me pretty much and decide, oh, we don't want her to work here anymore. Y'all not wanting to work with me is not a terminable offense. Me telling y'all I don't want to be friends with y'all, that's not a terminable offense. And even if I was using Tina, you don't get to fire me for using Tina. That's not something that's in your rule book. That's nothing to do with this business nor its operations. I literally got a job the very next week, so fuck them. And the thing about it is I really didn't even care to receive unemployment for them. I more so was just making a point like I'm the right one to play with. I'm not going to go into detail any further because it is what it is. I done cut my bridges with these people. Fuck them, for real. But I don't wish them success because they haven't earned it. I don't wish them profit and growth because they move shady as shit. I don't wish them shit, for real. I don't wish them ill, but I mean, they keep at the rate they're going, they're going to bring it on themselves anyway. You don't have to wish people like that ill. You don't. And it's so funny because I get nosy sometimes and I just run through the reviews. You could tell they're paying people to post reviews. They still, like I said, have tons and tons of reviews. We hated our food and we still had to pay for it. You could see Rachel arguing with people in the reviews, right? Somebody was like, there was no manager on duty for us to talk to, and the server didn't care, and she was nonchalant about it. Rachel responds, since when is it a crime to go on a family vacation? This is business, bitch. Are you dumb? It's cool to keep it real, but understand, real recognize real, right? If you keep it real with some people, they can't keep it real with themselves, it's probably going to go wrong. It's probably going to go wrong. And that was my story of when keeping it real goes wrong. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Now, not out of respect for my own self. There's some questions that I just won't be answering about this story. Don't ask me nothing crazy. Don't ask me nothing wild. Don't ask me, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. That shit happened. It's over with. And that's so funny. That's so funny. To y'all. And y'all know who y'all are if you're watching. But yeah. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow the house rules, which are to like, comment, subscribe. And I'll catch y'all next time.